of Hamelin was suffering from a rat infestation. The rats ate the crops, they carried the plague, they bit babies, and they successfully avoided all the traps that the villagers had set for them. And out of nowhere, a mysterious stranger dressed in patchwork clothing arrived in the village. He claimed he was a rat catcher and had a magical flute that could enchant all the rats and scurry them all away. The piper sets about playing his tune, and the rats, enchanted, followed him into the Wiser River where they drowned. The piper asked for a payment. The burgomaster decided, actually, I'm not going to pay you. He waited for St. John and Paul's Day when all of the adults were attending church, and then he played a different tune. This tune enchanted 130 children from the village, and they left swiftly, except for 3. The Pied Piper led them up the mountains. Others say he led them to the Wiser River where the rats had met their fate earlier. And others say they went into a cave in the hillside, never to be seen again. Most of us know the tale, but I think most of us aren't aware that there is actually some truth to it. Both fairy tales begin with a once upon a time, and we don't get a location, we don't get a date. But the Pied Piper, we do. Historians mark this event happening on St. John and Paul's Day, the 26th of June, 1284. Records from the 14th and 15th century talk about a stained glass window. The window was said to have dated around 1300, so within living memory of the event occurring. However, the window was actually destroyed in 1660. Don't know why. In the Town Chronicle of Hamelin, there is an entry in 1384 which reads, "It has been 100 years since our children left. It's been 100 years later, and they're still waiting for the children to return." A deacon, Lord Lude, a deacon kept a chorus book where he directly references the 130 children, and he sings as if he were a witness himself. But this is good 100 years or so after the event actually happened. So clearly this event did leave some sort of psychological scar on the area, even 100 years later. 1440 and 1450, the Lundberg manuscript was polished, almost revised or redone, because the original, the Golden Chronicle, was written by Monk in 1370, and at this point it was kind of in tatters, so it just kind of rewrote it all. In the manuscript, the original, the Golden Chronicle, it goes into detail about the piper. So it describes him as a marvellous wanderer who is well dressed, and he's at least 30 years of age. It even records which side of the village he entered and which side he left, as well as the number 130. So that's where we get our figure from. In Hamelin itself today, there is a gate that was made in 1556, so a good 300, just short of 300 years after this event occurred. And on the gate, there is an inscription, and it reads, "In the year 1556, 272 years after the magicians stole 130 children from the city, this gate was founded." 272 years later, and they're still talking about the children. But it's at this point we get an addition to the story, and that is what in writing times would be the exposition. It's the rats. So in 1559, we have the first mention of the rats, and this is often perceived as an embellishment of the story. As a writer myself, I see this as providing the piper a motive or an answer as to why he would be in the village and why he would want to seek revenge. Because when we don't understand things, we look at theories or we tend to come up with stories in order to kind of comprehend what's actually going on with our reality. I'm not surprised that something so scary that they felt the need to start morphing a real life event into myth in order to A, keep the memory alive, but B, to kind of understand why this event even happened. Rats in this story are definitely an embellishment, and it makes sense to use rats, because obviously the plague was a problem. It really does provide a reason as well as a motive, and it kind of gets you to make sense of what happened that day. Isn't argued that nothing happened that day. Something did happen that day. That's something that historians who famously never agree with each other all agreed that something did happen on the 26th of June, 1284, which is bonkers. The first theory suggests that the Pied Piper was the symbolic figure. He was a personification of death. Historians reckon that the children died of either starvation, a disease, or a landslide that pushed them into the Wiser River. He isn't a real person, but more symbolic, more personified of something, again, we don't really understand. The second theory refers to the Pied Piper being a locator, a recruitment agent. It wasn't uncommon for people to go around either recruiting for the military or to move to new settlements. At the time of what is now Poland, was colonized by what's now Germany, and this used to be in the arms of the Danish, but there was a battle and Germany won, so they took all their lands, and the lands were Poland and Romania. The Hamelin website confirms this theory, or at least is a supporter of it, saying, you know, it wasn't uncommon for people to ask the young people to come and move to these settlements and to help build society. Sometimes village people would be referred to as the village children, so it doesn't necessarily mean little children. It could just mean young adults, people young and fit to travel across these areas and help with the settlements. Professor called Jürgen Oldorf. Oh god, no. He had a thought that if he entered known family names from Hamelin and searched for them elsewhere. Surprise, he did find a few surnames knocking around in these areas, so it does give credence to that theory that there was no Piper with a magical flute, it was just a bloke he was recruiting. This theory is not saying that, you know, the children didn't vanish, they weren't taken, they emigrated, they left home and never returned, because I guess you wouldn't need to if you were creating a new settlement. Obviously I don't know because I wasn't around in 1284. Theory 3, as I briefly mentioned, it wasn't uncommon in this time for children to be recruited for crusades. There was a crusade in 1212. Was a lot of borders being moved and lands being occupied by different people at that time. Got to mention, in 1227, you had the grandsons of Genghis Khan trying to invade parts of Transylvania. So that's also another reason why this theory exists. Yeah. Fourth theory is the strangest one, but my personal favourite. The theory is the dancing mania. The dancing mania was not an uncommon thing in the medieval period. It's a psychogenic phenomenon that we still don't really understand. If you're not familiar with it, it's where people would dance until they dropped. Because they couldn't physically stop dancing. And to the point where, you know, they would die of exhaustion. They would dance for days, and it's, like I said, it wasn't uncommon for some reason. That's why that theory exists, because, you know, we think of flute and music, well, dancing, you know, it makes sense, doesn't it? But I don't know, I like that one, because the dancing mania is a fascinating thing. You don't see that happening now, do you? So I wonder. But we just don't know. We may never know. And last but not least, the final theory suggests that it was a pilgrimage. In some records, people theorize that it was a pagan man who wanted to have young people join his organization and follow him over the mountains and into the woods and whatever, to be a part of his, I don't want to use the word cult, but cult. And yeah, and they just never came home. That's it. That's the theory. What I found most interesting about researching the fact behind the fiction of this fable was that not a single person historically mentions the 3 children that were left behind. They're only kind of an afterthought, even though without those children, we wouldn't even know that people had disappeared. I think it's really, really fascinating, because it's like, what, are they just a narrative device? But how could they be? They're the ones who witnessed it. So I think that's really, really fascinating that they're not mentioned at all in any record. You know, it's almost like that no one wanted to verify that these children did even exist. But I guess that's why the stained glass window was there. But it doesn't help for us, because, you know, it was destroyed in 1660, so we just got a painting to go off. And that's it. It's not helpful at all. Fun fact, modern day Hamelin has a street that I can't pronounce, obviously. Translate it into English, it's known as the street without drums. It's believed to be the street where the children were last seen before they left the village, and it's actually illegal to play music or dance in that street. So every year they have a parade, and when they go for that street, the parade is silent. Everybody's silent. But yeah, that's the tale of the Pied Piper. It's not uplifting at all. All we can safely say is that 130 children left and we'll never seen again, which is a horrifying prospect, given the information we have available to us now. So yeah, it makes you wonder what other myths and legends that have been morphed and romanticized over the years, because that's exactly what the fable of the Pied Piper is. It's just a romanticized version of something horrific that happened. I'm assuming horrific because the first theory, it's very sad, scary, but sad ultimately. But I want to find out a bit more about those 2 children, the ones who were left. Where are their mentions besides the window? I don't know. But yeah, there we go.